Part 1 of 2, how to read the map before anyone hands you a treatment, what your cholesterol number isn't telling you. There's kind of this conventional medicine mindset of we want your cholesterol as low as possible, and then this more holistic functional medicine mindset of high cholesterol is totally fine. Of course, it's not that simple, and that's what I want to elucidate. So if cholesterol were simply dangerous, why would your liver manufacture most of it on purpose every day? And truly about 80% of your cholesterol in your body was actually made by your body, made by your liver to supply basically every cell in your body. Every cell's membranes are made out of cholesterol. All of your hormones, all of the sex hormones are made from cholesterol. So testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, et cetera, et cetera. Your bile acids are rife with cholesterol. Vitamin D is based on cholesterol. And the highest amount of cholesterol by organ is our brain. It is so much fatty acids and cholesterol. So it's clearly not a bad thing. So why would we want a super low number in the conventional medicine sense? And of course, we don't necessarily, but as I always say, context matters. I'm going to pose those two patients of mine who I spoke with last week in their panels, their lipid panels. We're going to take a look at them. And we're going to learn a few things, how the count beats the cargo, why ApoB, lipoprotein B, tells you what cholesterol does not, and why normal is the wrong bar, which is obviously a theme throughout a lot of these, and what the data actually shows. So we're going to look at some graphs, and I'll suggest 3 labs to get ordered if you have not already ordered them or had them done recently, or even just within the past few years. As always, this video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice or create a doctor-patient relationship. Quick doctor consult, quickly prescribe statin. We've heard this story so many times. Maybe it's happened to you. Maybe it's happened to a loved one of yours. That's about what conventional medicine has in the bag. There's a few other medications, of course, but so 2 people, and it's the same phrase, you have high cholesterol. It's that same 4-word phrase, you have high cholesterol. But there can be 2 completely different profiles that have the same, quote, high cholesterol. So client A, we'll call him, these are both men, the smolder, and client B, we will call a decoy with a number that looks fine but isn't. And why this came up for me is because if a cardiologist were to treat these 2, he would have put them on statins. He or she would have put them on statins, and it probably would have helped one of them, and it probably would have made the other one worse. So this is the small gentleman, and you can see LDL 154, which is on the high end by conventional standards, ApoB 137, and I'll show you, you don't need to memorize these right now, but it's high. LDL particle number, and we're going to get into a little bit about what particle number is versus size as well. But you can see it's elevated, the size of the LDL. And again, LDL is kind of known as the bad cholesterol. HDL is known as the good cholesterol. Not really true, but that's how we dumb it down. P(a), or lipoprotein of 96. I put in parentheses or quotes inherited because it is the hardest out of all of the lipid markers to change just through lifestyle. There's a very strong genetic component to this. Not totally genetic component, but a very strong genetic component. Fasting insulin, it was 19. My target is generally less than, I usually say less than 6 is a good target. The lab reference range is 18, I believe. And then hemoglobin A1C, that average sugar over the past 3 months, 6.5. This is just barely into the diabetic range. He had never been told that before. His hs-CRP, or this generalized inflammation marker at 12, is insanely high, 25 times over what it should be. Target is less than 1, ideal, optimal, less than 0.5. And this definitely just points he's a man on fire on the inside. And then his EPA, which is one type of omega-3, was at 0.4, which is essentially absent. So the cholesterol is definitely an alarm, but it's not looking at the cause for the fire. So hold that picture. Again, this gentleman would have been put on a statin, and that alone would have made his A1C worse over time. Now, here's the client number 2, or client B, the decoy. Here's his little simple lipid panel. A total cholesterol, 236. Standard reference range is under 200. LDL-C, 102, which this is like even cardiologists are happy if it's under 100, so he's practically right there. HDL of 54, the good cholesterol, decent, over 50. Triglycerides of 488. On the lab reference range, they like it under 150. Conventional medicine doctors, if they saw this, they would possibly prescribe statin just for the total cholesterol. They wouldn't do anything for triglycerides until it was over 500 if they're going by the textbook. And while they might look at this total cholesterol and say, oh, you're over 200, let's put you on a statin, they might, if they actually looked at the LDL and saw that it was practically 100, they might not actually prescribe a statin. So bordering on, oh, just lose a couple pounds and maybe we'll put you on a statin. That's what their recommendation would be. Now, this is the second person. Now, their ApoB is at 146, and optimal target is under 80. And this is, in conventional medicine, this is one of the most important lipid tests that can be done. So this one is important. Cholesterol doesn't travel alone. So this is a total amine particle. Now, it's lipids and proteins of various kinds all packaged into this one particle. ApoB is really just, it's this represented by this green thick line. It's really just a long protein that kind of wraps everything else up. Everything else is also wrapped in this phospholipid shell, which is made up of various type of omegas, 3s, 6, 9s, phosphatidylcholine is in there. There's many different types of other fatty molecules in there. And then in the middle is cholesterol. So red is the cholesterol, blue is the triglycerides. And cholesterol is, if you look at this as a car, cholesterol is the passengers. The particle is the car. Traffic jams are caused by cars, not passengers. There's one ApoB per total particle or per car. There's never two, they're never shared. So when you measure ApoB, you're not estimating, you're really accurately counting. So in the same idea, B beats LDL. Counting particles beats weighing their contents. We want to know how many cars, and we want to know the health of the cars. Particle number, so this is LDL particle number, matters more than LDL particle size. Particle size matters, but if we're just going to narrow this down to a couple of lab markers to look at, ApoB, LDL particle number matter very much. Your hs-CRP matters as well. Your LP Plaque 2 matters. The myeloperoxidase matters. So we'll get into all of that down the road. So stop watching total cholesterol number. Biology is just not that simple. So this is the protocol, gives you the standard reference ranges and then what I would suggest for each of these, along with a grading, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 grading of just how important or useful is it. You can go in and look at those graphs and try to understand it as it relates to your actual numbers.